All good things must come to an end, and today we are talking about the very last issue of Darkwing Duck, for the time being. Welcome to the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. We're your hosts, Mike Russo and...
Tiffany Silverbraun.
How's it going, Tiff?
Pretty good.
Okay, guys, I'm sure you've noticed that this isn't a very long one. Our habit of going long on previous episodes has bitten us in the butt because we are running low on storage space. Notice we don't ask you guys for Patreon donations. We're good that way, but that means we don't end up with lots of space for episodes. So this ends up having to be a short one. That's fine, though. Let's just jump right into it. It's a part 2 regardless, right?
Yep.
So let's just do this thing. Joe Book's Darkwing Duck number 8, the very last issue that came out March 2017. And so, Tiff, what does our cover look like?
We have an upside down, distraught Darkwing, and he is wrapped up in a bunch of vines and has a bunch of mechanical arms with, like, it looks like a weed killer spray, a hoe, a hand shovel, and a rake, all reaching towards him.
Where do you think those are coming from?
I don't know.
Oh, we'll find out soon enough. So this is part 2 of Dawn of the Day of the Return of the Living Spud. So we're picking up pretty much exactly where we left off. And we are starting, once again, with our old buddy, Dwayne.
Yay.
Yeah, we love Dwayne. So how does his narration start? You picked up on a reference here.
Yeah, so he starts off and he makes a Pee-wee's Big Adventure reference. And when Pee-wee's talking to Dottie, and this is the line that he says is, "Yes, sirree, there's a lot of old stuff out here in the dark normal folks don't want no part of. Things they couldn't understand, things they wouldn't understand, things they shouldn't understand."
I've seen that movie many times. I did not pick up on that for some reason. And then he pulls out a chupacabra and squirts it with a water pistol, feeds it a potato. He says they're pretty docile as long as you give them potatoes.
It looks like the dog from Coco. Dante.
Does a little bit. We're a couple of years removed from that, but
yeah.
Still. It's like a very feral chihuahua.
Yeah.
So as Dwayne says, we were jawing about the Potatopocalypse. And he says, with Darkwing Duck up to his tail feathers in tater trouble and the city under siege, it was up to a familiar face to protect the people. And then we get another reference. What's this one?
So it says, just in time, surrounded by evil, low on gas, which is a reference to the tagline for Army of Darkness.
Nice.
The third sequel of Evil Dead, which is trapped in time, surrounded by evil, low on gas.
And then Gizmoduck says, my Gizmo suit doesn't actually run on fossil fuel, citizen. You see, it's powered by a... And then Dwayne interrupts him, and we're not going to do all the dialogue, but this is funny. Dwayne says, who's telling this tale, friend? Do I come down to your fancy pajama party and tell you how to jump across rooftops? And Gizmoduck says, I suppose not, but that isn't really what I do.
And then again, you do have the pose that he's making, having the potato peeler for an arm and the girl grabbing.
That's Ash.
Yeah,
100%, right?
Yep, it's just like the cover of the cover art of Army of Darkness.
I don't know why I didn't pick up on that. I should be able to pick up on that. So this issue, continues our story, but stops for detours to lay the groundwork for stuff that we're never going to find out what happens, which is a shame, which includes this next scene at Quackworks where we check back in with Maury Thwackstein from way, way, way back, who's now the CEO of the company. Basically, he wants to deploy the new hero bots, and his assistant tells him that most of them aren't operational. About 40% are. The problem is that when he calls to get them activated, they're gone.
Yep. And it says a mystery for another day.
A mystery we're probably never going to get solved for us.
Yep. something that they wanted to get to at some point.
We have a theory, but we'll get to it. So yeah, checking back with Gizmoduck. So this is kind of nice because we're spending a lot of time with Gizmoduck. We haven't gotten to do that, and it's kind of fun just to kind of. I mean, there's other characters here, but he's our focus for the next couple of pages, so it's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yep.
So who calls Gizmoduck?
Jay Gander Hooter and what's her name? Desiree Bell.
Okay, so this is pretty funny. When Hooter calls, he's happy that Gizmoduck is returned. He says his timing could not be more impeccable. And Gizmoduck says, "Sorry I haven't been around, sir. I took a vacation. Then there was that MacGuffin convention." Because without dangerous currency, there's no explanation to where Gizmoduck went.
Yep.
So, Gizmoduck puts two and two together, figures out Bushroot is behind this, and then we get a slew of cameos. What are these, Tiff?
Then they say they need to call for they need to summon all of the former Justice Ducks. So you see Neptunia, and I guess it's Hal, but he looks really realistic and not cartoony like he does in the comic book.
The crab is cartoony down there, though.
Huh?
The crab down there is pretty cartoony, though.
Yeah. And then Stegmutt, and you see him fighting a giant potato, and you see Femme Appeal.
I don't like them.
I'm sure you're excited about.
Oh, I love her so much. She awakens things in me. Actually, more importantly, Stegmutt is playing Put Out the Darkwing with a giant potato.
Yep.
Interesting how they say former Justice Ducks, which kind of implies what I've always thought is the team really didn't stay together.
Yeah.
They're not really a team of superheroes. Morgana and Stegmutt and even Neptunia are not really superheroes. So I kind of always imagined after their one and only adventure, they all kind of split up and did their own thing.
Yep.
So I kind of liked how they imply that here. Then who do they mention?
They mentioned that they tried to get a hold of Morgana and they couldn't, and that they'll fill him in later on the details of that. And you see a very like spider web filled macabre manor.
With melted candles, lots of cobwebs, yeah. No one's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Belle mentions they tried to locate a Gizmo girl. She doesn't know if she's his sidekick or what. Gizmoduck calls her a Gizmo buddy, very in character.
Yeah, it's very cute because, it could be, if it was Darkwing, he'd be angry and wonder why someone's stealing his look and stuff. And it's very Gizmoduck that he's excited that he has a fan.
Why, what an adorable little Gizmo buddy. He points out that she's wearing the old Quack 1 armor, which isn't as sophisticated as his armor, which we didn't point out. He does look different, very different. Aside from the helmet, he has the basic Gizmoduck shape, but a lot has changed about him.
Yeah. A little sleeker, not so 80s.
He doesn't have the rubber black arms now. They're actually like mechanical robot arms. So our assumption is Fenton's what?
Like hydraulic arms.
Right. So our assumption is Fenton is like just inside the suit completely, except for his head. The tire is streamlined.
He's like that, what is it, A Day for a Night Goofy cartoon where he's sitting inside of the armor.
Right. Or Bugs did the same thing in Nights Must Fall.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't have the belted tire anymore. It's a lot more modern racing tire, kind of. And also, the R is now a G, which I guess it should be.
It looks very similar to how the R looked, but it's clearly a G now.
Right. So Gizmoduck is cutting apart potatoes. He's slicing. He's dicing. He's making julienne fries.
Which is probably an Aladdin reference.
Well, yep. Slices, dices, julienne fries. It's kind of also from the original Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, but it's a Disney comic, so I'm sure they're going to be referencing the Disney property.
That's true. So
Well,
Bell or is
it
it
was
Hooter? We
original
can't tell.
I think it was originally in a commercial specifically.
Oh
And then,
yeah, it's all coming from a commercial. Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if it's Bell or Hooter. They mention the most pressing question is where is Darkwing? So we're about to get a gigantic exposition dump. Um, if you want, I'll pretty much handle this. You cool with that?
Yeah.
All right. First, we get a pretty decent joke where Darkwing does not remember who Dean Tightbill is, and Bushroot has to remember him. Um, and Bushroot is very offended that Darkwing would forget the first time they ever met. Bushroot says, I'd actually be hurt if I'd actually be hurt. You almost forgot our first encounter if it wasn't so typical of you. So yeah, here comes this big exposition dump from Tight Bill. Basically, he talks about the most important green thing is money, and he wanted to take over Gary and Larson's notes and their project to enlarge food, because as we recall in Beauty and the Beat, they were creating giant food. No nutritional value, but big food. It's great for profits and corporations. So he wanted to, create profit beyond his wildest dreams. He needed some seed money, so we see him going to Steelbeak for a big suitcase full of cash. A couple of mysterious shadows in the background. One of them is obviously Flintheart Glomgold. We know, second richest duck in the world. The other one, for you duck comic fans, is John D. Rocker Duck. Another one of Scrooge's rich enemies. So he used the seed money to create the Nutricide factory, but his hard work was just not paying off. He couldn't do what he was trying to do. His investors were getting pretty antsy. And then when he broke ground the hydroponics wing, he found Posey buried underground. So he decided to basically use her genetics, I guess,
Her DNA.
to her DNA and add it to the giant food he was making. Basically, that's pretty much it. Did I miss something?
I think that's it. And that the food, it does enlarge it, but it has absolutely no nutritional value.
But it doesn't matter because it's all going to be profit. First, first the produce industry, then the world. And then Goslin makes a comment. Science is always asking if it could, never asking if it should. And then Darkwing goes, and the little girl who turned her staircase into a water slide fails to see the irony. So Bushroot gets upset. What does Bushroot say?
Yeah, this part is pretty interesting because he's talking about what he wanted to do originally, which is just have people be able to absorb like the sun and nutrients and stuff like that and not have to depend on food, which kind of makes you think that he's like not that much of a villain in the first place.
He never really was.
Yeah.
He just got pushed too far.
Yep. And Dean Tightbill reminds him that the only green that matters is money. And he tells him that he's unleashing horrible danger. And Darkwing says, why do you keep calling him Dean? He doesn't run the university anymore. And Bushroot says his first name is also Dean.
Well, that's convenient. When he got promoted, he didn't even have to change his business cards. And Goslin in the background says, can we just stop the bad guy? So Tightbill unleashes Posey, who breaks her chains, basically. And, Posey is back on the loose. I miss her ripped up wedding dress.
Wait, what?
I miss her ripped up wedding dress.
Yeah.
So we have another scene which is meant to, again, lay the groundwork for something that we never end up getting. We have a few guards delivering the Splatter Phoenix comic to Warden Dullard, the one Darkwing put her in a couple of issues ago. It's all chained up now. As they hand it to him, another giant potato bursts out of the water, attacks their boat, and then another one of those plant raptors attacks the giant potato, and they fall underwater, and the comic book is dropped. Who sees the comic?
Negaduck behind bars.
My. Whatever do we have here? That would be interesting if we ever found out what happens.
I would love to see a Negaduck Splatter Phoenix team up.
Do you think that would go better or worse than when he teamed up with Magica? I don't know. I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah.
So Gizmoduck is up on a building trying to find Darkwing, doing hand signals to look like Darkwing's face. And he's like, but I have been approached by salesmen from 3 local haberdasheries, quite determined to be drumming up business during a Potatopocalypse. You've got to admire that chutzpah. Okay, my favorite Gizmoduck line, and I just hear Hamilton Camp say it in my head, is when Neptunia calls in for like her only like dialogue in this issue. She says, Agent Bell, Gizmoduck, something odd is going on. And Gizmoduck says, and considering the night, that's really saying something.
Yeah, I could totally hear him too.
And I hear Camp dropping into the Fenton voice for that.
Yep.
But Neptunia notices the potatoes are not fighting anymore. They're actually leaving.
Yep.
And we get our only line from Stegma in this comic, in this issue at least. He does say something in the Comic-Con one. What happens in his one scene?
Says maybe they want jam.
our only drawing of Grizzly Cough in this issue too.
I was gonna say get Grizzly Cough.
Femapil, Grizzly Cough, and Stegmut. Maybe they want jam. So Desiree Bell assumes they're heading to some sort of hive mind and sends the coordinates to Gizmoduck, who's surrounded by haberdashers trying to sell him hats.
Where'd they all come from?
Oh, you never know. And why are they not being attacked by potatoes either?
Yeah, they got hats.
So Gizmoduck tries out a few catchphrases before being told they were taken. What's the first one?
Says, let's get catchphrase taken. To infinity, catchphrase taken. Well, donkey buttons. Catchphrase available.
Of course, the second one is Buzz Lightyear's, obviously.
Yeah.
So Darkwing and Bushroot are kind of getting their butts handed to them by Posey, while Launchpad and Goslin are still, wrapped up in the vines this entire time. So Goslin realizes, these are old enemies of Bushroot. I have an idea. He scares Larson and Gary with Bushroot's dismembered head.
Creepy.
Very creepy. So Larson and Gary let go of Launchpad and Goslin. I don't think we see them again. And then we get kind of schmaltzy, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens?
So then we get another little speech about how Goslin is going to take over as crime fighter, and Launchpad saying that he'll be there as her sidekick when that happens. And I don't know why doing that. It makes it weird. Like, is Darkwing going to die?
Do they know something he doesn't?
Yeah.
Their doctor called and...
I know, does he have cancer?
It's like the episode of Ducktales, or even the one of Tailspin, when the doctor calls everyone and he's describing a cuckoo clock or whatever it was, and he thinks he's dying. A part in the rat catcher is broken, and now Darkwing thinks he's dying. That would be a funny episode. It would be a complete ripoff of 2 other shows, but they could have done it. So Darkwing breaks up the treacle by saying, guys, little help here. This is my least favorite bit in the issue, though. Launchpad goes to save Darkwing. Posey takes Darkwing and basically pounds Launchpad into the ground with him. Kind of like what happened in The Incredible Bulk. But while Darkwing's pounding Launchpad, what does Launchpad say?
Well, first Darkwing says stop, and then Launchpad says hammer time.
Oh, come on. No. What are they going to do? Get up and start dancing again?
I know, like the third MC Hammer reference in Darkwing property.
Next thing you know, Comic Guy's going to show up in parachute pants and dance around. Launchpad says things can't get much worse, and that's Gizmoduck's cue to burst in through the roof.
And Darkwing, you aren't allowed to say things anymore.
Yep. Then we get yet another cut to somewhere else, establishing something that doesn't pay off. What are they establishing, Tiffany?
So then it says elsewhere, and you see this really dark, sort of messy room with newspaper clippings and a bunch of monitors on the wall. And you get the warden saying, so as you can see, the reports of an escape are greatly exaggerated, which I guess is a reference to that fake Mark Twain quote.
And he's holding up a paper mache bushroot, but claiming it's real.
Yeah. And saying, yes, I'm 100% real Dr. Bushroot, and I'm no way just a paper mache hand puppet.
And they make a comment about, will this outbreak affect next week's St. Canard Toy Expo?
Yeah. And then you hear
toys.
Some singing, whistle while you scheme.
Quackworks killed my dream, but with my old friend they'll meet there, and now let's make them scream. And who is it?
It's Quacker Jack, obviously.
Okay, one thing I did notice now, which I guess I'm just blind, he is surrounded by drums of ink.
Yep.
And now I'm actually piecing it together in my head for the first time ever. There are 2 notes hanging up on the wall that says, what's it say? Time to play rough.
Yep.
Get dolled up.
Yeah.
Or something. And obviously it's written in the ink.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows what exactly happened to Quacker Jack, but surrounded by ink and with notes written in ink, he's got to be possessed by that stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't know it. That's all we really get.
He's making crazy mechanical banana brain.
And there's like one joke on this page. Amongst the monitors, there is a picture of Herb from last issue with the caption, "Local man causes grease fire." All those poor raccoons.
Yeah, and he's wearing his Negan outfit.
So back at Nutricide, Gizmoduck is fighting with Posey, and Dean Tightbill's having a panic attack because Gizmoduck is there. You know, that's when you panic. And Gosling's like, you really don't get it, do you? We're way past quiet. And she shows him outside that Posey's calling all her potato minions home.
Yeah, looks like zombie apocalypse with them all inching towards the building.
And many of them attached to people's faces.
Yep.
So Dean Tightbill panics. Like, he wants to get the heck out of there, take the money and run, basically. So he leaves. And then Darkwing, Gizmoduck, Launchpad, and decide to fight Posey themselves, all 3 of them, which would have been a pretty cool fight. If it wasn't for the fact that Bushroot is pretty much still on Posey's side.
Yep.
What does he do?
He makes all his vines come up out of the, planters, and captures Gizmoduck, Launchpad, and Darkwing.
Yep.
Yeah, and he still is in love with Posey and asks a question. Says, we're meant to be together. Just tell me if there's a chance for us. And Posey screams and knocks all of them to the ground.
She never liked him.
Yeah. She's pretty much the bride of Frankenstein.
As Bushroot, Darkwing, Launchpad, and Gizmoduck lay in the heap, you can kind of see Gizmoduck's visor askew, and you can kind of see Fenton's eye poking out. I like those moments where they actually do that, like in Justice Ducks, when he sees Morgana, he lifts the visor and goes, "Hi!" So back to Tightbill. Tightbill's about to get his comeuppance pretty hardcore. He stuffs as much money as he can into a couple of satchels and runs up to the roof, and he makes a comment that he wants to start elsewhere, maybe Spoonerville. There's no ducks allowed in Spoonerville, dude. Good luck.
No ducks.
Good luck, dude. And who does he run into?
You see Steelbeak standing there.
Going somewhere, pal? He's like, I saw this little brouhaha on the news. And Type Bill like immediately panics, like, this is my money, it's my research, I won't let you. He's like, I mean, of course, Steelbeak, I meant no disrespect. And here's where I hear Paulson, none taken, Type Bill. We're pals after all. Like, hear him perfectly. None
Yep.
taken, Type Bill. I can't do a Paulson to save my life, but so how does the scene with Type Bill end? A great callback.
I ever show you my alligator briefcase?
I think it'd be really great when we cut to the next panel. You see a very muted arg or a no, like in the background.
Totally.
Like that would be great. So yeah, Darkwing is like, Bushroot, she's controlling the monsters. They're spreading. If you don't stop her, there's no telling where it will end. Darkwing mentions Mouston and Duckburg again. And then Darkwing levels with him and calls him Reggie.
Yeah.
I know you're lonely. I know what that's like. I know you created her to be the companion, but she's not that. She's never going to be. Right, so what happens next?
Yeah, and he says, she says that he doesn't want her to suffer, and or she says, hasn't she suffered enough? And Darkwing says, yes, she has. And this makes Bushroot cry and realize that enough is enough. And he uses his plant powers to make vines come up and engulf Posey, and they shoot all up in the air.
I guess he crushes her with them?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if she's like encapsulated or if she's crushed.
But whatever he does, it releases it stops the Potatopocalypse, basically. You see all the potatoes return to normal, and they start falling off of people's faces. And now we got this gigantic beanstalk coming out of the top of Nutricide.
Yep.
So as we wrap up the story, Gizmoduck tells Darkwing it was great working with him again. He calls him Wingy. All right. Darkwing says, the brevity was my favorite part. Do you want to talk about how the Darkwing Bushroot storyline actually ends? I'll let you take care of that.
Sure. So he says, there's something I need to do, and it's a very sweet moment. Darkwing walks up. Bushroot's just sitting, and he's staring up at the beanstalk that he made. And he says, you've never called me that before. And he said, Darkwing expresses that he knows they had their differences, and he's sorry that it had to end that way. Bushroot says that he can still sense Posey in the vines, and he can tell that she's happy, and that makes him happy. And Bushroot says that it feels good to be a good guy, but he thinks it's obnoxious when Darkwing does it. And he says, maybe I've turned over a new leaf. Get it?
And Darkwing goes, yes, you certainly have grown.
Terrible, just terrible.
When Darkwing also glances over to Goslin, and he's like, that's true love. That's when something is so important to you sacrifice anything for it.
Yep. And then you just have a nice moment of them sitting together, looking at the giant beanstalk.
With no dialogue.
And then Bushroot says, I'm still going back to jail, aren't I? Darkwing, ooh, yeah, big time.
And then Bushroot says, oh, well, at least I won't be alone. What a beautiful way to end a Bushroot story.
Yeah.
Like, truly, truly great.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't think Bushroot would be the last villain for our last issue of Darkwing Duck for the future. Maybe, at least from Sylvani and Sparrow, maybe ever. I sure hope not. But either way, you wouldn't think it'd be Bushroot. But it is, and it works. Like, Darkwing Duck as canon. Darkwing Duck canon, basically, is ending kind of the way it began for a lot of people.
Yep.
Because for many people, Beauty and the Beat was the first one. I know it was for Will.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of nice we've come full circle. So now that it's wrapped up, we're back to Dwayne. And he says, that's our story. It took us to some unexpected places, I reckon. But the best ones often do. What does he hold up?
He holds up a newspaper of the St. Canard Guardian and says, City honors heroes with parade. Mostly Gizmoduck, and you see Gizmoduck with his hand up, obscuring Darkwing's face.
Kind of reminds me of the end of Monsters Inc. when Mike's face is being blocked in the newspaper.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take care of the basically the last dialogue we've got here, which sums up a lot of what we're thinking. He says, "I know you got questions. What's Negaduck really up to?" Good question. Is Bushroot a changed plan? What are Fluffy and Mortimer cooking up in that basement? I'd like to know that. Where the heck is Morgana? Someone please explain that one. Is Steelbeak back with Fowl or what? Was the moon landing fake? Well, I reckon I got an answer, and my answer is this. How should I know? I'm just a good old country boy.
Yay.
Great. But tell us what's in the last panel that we see.
The last panel is like he's in a giant warehouse that's like Indiana Jones and the, what is it called? The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull or something? Is that what it was called?
Wasn't it Raiders of the Lost Ark?
Oh, it's from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Wait, isn't it in both though?
I don't know. I've never seen Crystal Skull. I don't watch crap.
I think it's the end of both.
Okay, I know it from Raiders. And I think it's where most people parody it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, and then you see a giant skull in the background, what looks like a T-Rex, and I don't know what you call that, like a chamber with liquid in it, and a mysterious person.
There's a skull.
And yeah, and then a mirror that has that little alien from the intro of Ducktales, which I don't think was in an episode, but it's the one that
wasn't.
dollar bill from him and laughs.
Did you mention the spaceship?
Oh, and no, and a flying saucer.
And lots of crates.
Yep.
And that's it. That is it. And so, Tiff, what did you think of this one?
I really liked it.
Me too. Me too. What would you rate it?
I think I would give it, this is gonna be weird, like a 4 3/4.
That's weird. Why would you? What's with the extra quarter?
I don't like that it does seem a little bit like they're trying to set up and get you to, like, they probably knew that they were canceled, so there's a lot of stuff trying to like push future things. I don't really like that, and I don't like the little Goslin launchpad moment, and that's it. But it's so minor because I think it's great. The Bushroot Darkwing moment is
all
great.
The Gizmoduck stuff too.
Yeah, all the Gizmoduck stuff. You can definitely hear all of their voices, like Gizmoduck, Steelbeak, Bushroot, all of them.
That's been a constant over the last 8 issues.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest shame about this ending. I don't know if we're ever going to get something that really sounds and feels like the show ever again. I think we kind of passed that.
Yeah.
I think the moment of like strict adherence to like Darkwing Duck canon, I think that's going to be over because I don't have a good feeling about Sparrow and Silvani's involvement with Dynamite Comics. Because last they spoke, they had not heard anything. So that's not too encouraging. We got very lucky with this, and we got very lucky with Ducktales. I don't know in the future if we'll be as lucky again. Because I consider these comics canon to the show.
Yep.
If Tad Stone says they are, they are.
Yeah.
So in general, which would you prefer, Boom or Joe Books?
That's tricky. I feel like, I don't know, like those, I really like the Dark Knight Returns and Crisis on Infinite Darkwings, but I feel like as far as consistently good, Joe Books wins.
Yes, Joe Books is much more like the show. And I think the lows of Boom really drag it down, especially when you add Dangerous Currency to the mix.
Yeah.
But I'll give this issue a 4. I just give it a flat 4. I think I would have rated it a little bit higher if they didn't spend time on the stuff that didn't really matter and was only there to set up later stuff that we didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. There's a reason why they probably did that. So After next week, I believe we're going to be getting back to more Disney adventures and the Disney Afternoon Marvel issues reviews from Stan and Will. They have a bunch of those lined up. Uh, I'm not sure when I'll be back. Probably a while from now. Although me and Tiffany have an idea we're cooking up. We may do something sooner or later. We still have a bit more time, so why don't we cram in a quick mini episode review before we go?
All right. Well, the one that I was gonna pick, it's actually long episode wise, but it's been talked to death, so it should be quick. And that's Justice Ducks.
Okay. Well, we could do this all day, but really quick, why do you love this one?
Well, I don't know if I necessarily love it, but I really, really loved it as a kid, and I used to, like, back in the day, say that it was my all-time favorite episode. But I really have a problem with, like, the first half of the first episode. I think it's slow, and I really don't like it's like the most pathetic Morgana is on the show is in this episode, I feel like.
I begrudgingly agree with you.
I feel like even the ones where, like, Morgana is being kind of more subdued, you still have that, like, explosion of her being super powerful and, like, getting angry, which is, at least you have that contrast. And this doesn't even have that. She's just really pathetic the whole time.
Could it be because she's going up against super villains she usually doesn't? I don't know. I'm trying to justify it, but I don't know if there's any justifying what you just said. Yeah, it's true.
And then, but yeah, this, like, second half and then the second part also are great. And but then I don't like thinking about the Justice Ducks in general. I really don't like that they have Stegma and kind of Neptunia also. I feel like they should have been other people.
That's all they had, though.
Well, they could have had Derek Blunt.
Yeah. I can see.
I would, even if they have to go with, like, a dumb guy like Stegma, I would rather it be Comic Guy even.
Yeah, I guess we understand why they never went back to these characters again for the most part, because they work for this one story.
Yeah, and I could see, like, when you think from an artistic perspective, if you're thinking about a group of, like, heroes together and drawing them, I could see that, like, wanting to have the giant dinosaur and a robot and Neptunia, and size wise it, like, works really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, I mean, I could see it, but Stegma is just such a weak character. I feel like he's dumb, but he's also not funny, which is why I feel like Comic Guy can be funny, and he's a little bit of a old Looney Tunes flavor. So yeah. I don't know.
But I'll give my thoughts quick. I put them together. I love it. They're in my top 10. I still have huge nostalgia from when it first aired. Gizmoduck's in it, obviously, so I love Gizmoduck. The Fearsome Five are terrific. This is the one time they actually get along, and they really put their powers to the best use, and they're a functional team. It's when Negaduck comes into his own. It's when the Sun Wu animation comes into its own, and all the callbacks across the two episodes with the pudding and the yak. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All that stuff seems like non sequiturs in the first episode, but it all pays off in the second episode.
Exactly. So, payoff is so great, and all, like, the jokes, like the comedic timing in both is really good.
I mean, the two Darkwing Duck episodes, they feel different. Also because of their different animation studios, but the tones are different. This, you can just edit them both together and it works as like a 45-minute movie.
They do, except for only one thing makes it weird, is that whole, when Darkwing she falls down the thing in the building, like, that's, splits the two episodes. Right. And then she lands and they've taken over the city. And it's like, I feel like that's with the understanding of there's been a lot of time since you've seen the last episode. And when they're together, it's like that just happened in one
second. No. That's the joke. Without Darkwing, they were able to take over the city that fast. Come on, it's the best Darkwing Duck joke. As he was falling, with him out of the way, they were able to do it right away. Without any interference, they can take over the city in 5 seconds flat.
I guess I could see that. Kind of like that when Quackerjack gets hit by Stigmat's tail, and while he's still in the air, he's like on a bus driving.
It's perfect Darkwing Duck stupid humor.
All right, I'll give you that.
Yay! But we have to stop. We'll catch up on these episodes again. We'll talk more about them next time we're together, perhaps. But anyway, we do have to wrap it up. Tiffany, where can our fans find you?
At Tiffany Silverbraun on on Instagram at Tiffany Silverbraun.
We've been doing this consecutively for a full 8 months. You're allowed to make mistakes.
And at Regurgitating Gertie, and on YouTube at CarneyTube, and at Radioactivity.
And we are the St. Canard Files, a Darkwing Duck podcast. If you have a favorite podcast app, we are on it. Enough said. And again, stay tuned. We still have some more things coming up. Hopefully we hear about either the Dynamite comics or the Darkwing reboot at some point, so we have material to talk about. But there's still some stuff out there. And again, you might hear me and Tiffany pop up again sooner than later. Although I'm sure the very next episode will be standing well. But until then, it's been fun. I've enjoyed this deep dive into all the Darkwing Duck comics. It has been a lot of fun, Tiffany. Yeah. I couldn't have asked for a better co-host for all of this.
Aw, shucks.
Aw, thank you so much. It's been swell. So until we meet again, guys, everyone have a great, whatever it is, morning, afternoon, evening, commute, whatever, and stay dangerous.
Bye.